Hello, everyone. It's Youngling Jr. Just want to talk about the little bit aftermath of the Hurricane Idalia, even though I had to, because it happened in my area, right? So I had to kind of go through that. And I'm just kind of blessed that I was able to have family members to help me out over my father's place. It's 3 hours away, and he had food, water, and everything. Now, we had like food and water, but at the same time, if you go through a natural disaster like that with no power, after 72 hours, so that's when we didn't have any power. The food started to become very spoiled. So we took what we could. We had, thank goodness, I had coolers and ice in there, and then we just took things in the freezer that we could stuff there, like meat, eggs. Yeah, so and how expensive it is too. Just getting groceries. That was just a pain, but I'm glad I had fuel and transportation because gas stations in the surrounding area that was hit and affected by the storm. I mean, most of the gas stations were closed, and then it was just piled up with people. So you're going to be waiting for hours just to get some gas. So one of these things you just kind of had to prepare a week before. So because this is like my first time going through a significant storm like this, because I'm from the Midwest. I know people who's from the Pensacola or the South or Florida. They're like, oh, we go through this all the time, and some are more severe than others. Okay, now you live around the Gulf Coast, you're going to experience it a little bit more. I mean, you may have a lot of damages, was debris all over the road. People say, just water, just pushing everywhere. I mean, it was a dolphin swimming, in the street. It was crazy in certain areas in Florida, like Perry, Florida. I know Richmond Hill, Georgia, they had to be evacuated. And I'm just thinking about, you got to think about too, like the elderly, where people, they don't have any family members or anything, right? So how's they going to get help? So that's why it comes into the governor to actually have these evacuations on drills and on these transportation, like, hey, we're gonna get these people a week in advance. Like, hey, you gotta leave, you gotta go, you gotta leave your home, because that's just to prevent any additional casualties, right? Then too, which was really hardening a little bit around my area, it was just a lady. She was all over the news. She was just, basically saying that, hey, she was relying on her oxygen tank. She needed power, of course, to refill her oxygen. And when she noticed that her power was out, yeah, she had to go to the local hospital. Hospitals have backup generators anyway. They have to. It's a requirement. But she had to go to a hospital, man. She had to be there for a few days just for that. She said it was rough, man. So you have to leave a comfortable situation and be uncomfortable for a little bit. Try to thug it out for a whole week. And I mean, for a day. And it was just kind of rough for me and my wife. So I'm just glad that I had family there. Now, if I didn't, the worst case scenario, that's why you gotta have some money saved. Just get a hotel for a day or two. Probably pay a couple $100s. At least I have, you might have to go 30 or 40 minutes out. And that's why you got to understand the surveying of your area too. This is just little tips, just like my first time, if you have to go through something like this, because hurricane season around this area happens like all the time. But in southern Georgia, it's just like, I think one of the first times in a long time. Correct me if I'm wrong. We might experience like the aftermath, like, okay, well, all right, it's a storm or some rainfall, but a hurricane that actually destroyed some homes here, that's pretty significant. Okay. But like I said, after reflecting and coming back home after a few days, going back to the grocery store, you know how things are super expensive. You actually can file a property claim if you have insurance, and just inform them like, hey, I had to throw away, I don't know, a few $100s worth of groceries or anything, something that damaged, electronics or anything. And if you have renters, usually they have an adjuster. You take pictures just to show proof. Some insurance might take your word for it. And I know for USAA, you don't have to pay a deductible. At least for my policy, I had to pay like no $200 deductible. I just like let them know like, hey, what was going on? A couple $100 gave it to me, and which is a blessing in itself too. So I think about all those little things. And yeah, we don't have like a whole bunch of stuff in the fridge, but it's just something. It's something to get us through, right, for a couple weeks. So yeah, I'm just, counting my blessings on that. And actually, I kind of understand what people go through now with these storms. It sucks. It really does. Because, throwing food away, we're already going through inflation too. So, but I will say this too. Or the reason why I'm making this video, we have our two senators here of Georgia, right? They'll be elected, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, a few years ago. And they were surveying the area. They filed a federal disaster assistance, after, as soon as Governor Brian Kemp, he signed for the federal disaster declaration, right? So That was a huge thing, you know. So they urged a letter to President Biden. I think that kind of helped out with the Red Cross to give food to families and in the surrounding areas, and they had significant time. So if you were, you know, families that couldn't afford food or didn't have enough money to afford food and you had to throw it out, they had the Red Cross there to actually assist them. So that's actually a good thing. That's really good. So people was coming together in the community. I just want to say thank you for that. You know, and we're just gonna come as one and rebuild this and come together, man. That's all you can do. Rest in peace to the guy. I think he died around. I think we had maybe one casualty. He was cutting a tree and the tree crushed him. So rest in peace. And condolences to him and his family. But yeah, man, that's just pretty much my experience there. And yeah, Hurricane actually Andrew was one of the when I was actually researching this about these hurricanes. Hurricane Andrew was one of the most devastating hurricanes in Florida. You know, that happened in the 90s, 1992. Hurricane Katrina, we know about that, and levees broke in Louisiana. People was just out power for days and homeless. It was just unfortunate. I'm just thinking, like, you don't even have any money or you're lower middle class, it's gonna be extra hard to recover opposed to someone who's upper middle class or rich. You know, I'm not saying they're suffering too, but I feel like they have a lot more resources and they have a lot of money to compensate. Okay, let me go ahead and just build this back up. I'm good. Yeah, you know. So compared to someone who's lower middle class and struggling, these natural disasters, man, can really wipe out a lot of things, even your savings. So then you got to go back to work and act like everything is normal, and because you can't fight Mother Nature, so it's just like, dang, man. So then you got people who can't afford to move. So I look at all of this, man. You know, it can be difficult at times, though, but you should keep God first, man. And this is why it's important to have a community of people. And I see why people live in three or four people live in one house, man. And everybody's pulling together, making money. I mean, these disasters that happen, I mean, it won't be as difficult, you know. So, but yeah, man, it's just a form of unity, though. But it's just kind of changed things. I put little things in perspective on this. But yeah, man, that's all I really have to say. Blessings to the people in the community there. And yeah, that was just pretty much my experience this week during facing this hurricane. So like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you guys, man. Till next time, I'm out. Deuces.